Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect. In today's video we'll be building and working on the Coaster B build challenge for October. So October's coaster is an interesting one, and this requires the new Booms and Bloom DLC. So this is the Pivot Coaster, or aka the Access Coaster from SNS. And so this is a quite interesting layout that Coaster B has constructed for this challenge. And some things that I already do not like is the coaster kind of sitting inside this in the ground, so that's going to change in my build. And then the depot in the back here needs to be covered because, well, the depot needs to be completely covered. I'm not sure how big the map is. It's pretty large, actually, so there's lots to do. The theming for this is going to be Halloween, because it seems very appropriate to do for a October build, or October month. So, yeah, let's just get on to the time lapse then. Okay, first things first is to work on the foundations of Halloweentown, which is the name of the park for this build, because, well, Halloween themed. And I got to use some cool little things here and there to kind of do a Halloween type aesthetic, and I do use a couple mods. I will explain those mods as we go on, but a warning first, this is going to be a long video. This is going to be about a 35-minute video or longer, because I didn't want to separate this into a whole bunch of little episodes, because I still have American Adventure to work on and things like that. So this one's jam-packed full of a lot of little details and a lot of little things. Like the first thing that I'm working on right now, just to get myself into the Halloween theme, was to build a witch's tower, like right in the middle of this roundabout of the coaster. And I got rid of all the supports with the stump technique, and then I'm going to custom support the whole coaster myself with the support mod, and then I'll go in from there to get myself that Halloween feel. So that's the hardest part of building anything. That's, you have a blank map, and so I just was kind of testing around what Halloween would look like. I did do some concept art hunting first, like I went on ArtStation or Google, looked up some Halloween themed parks or something like that, in general. I typed in Google, and I found some pretty cool stuff and some Halloween-y things, and so I was just like, okay, I'll just go for Halloween, spooky, pumpkins, spiders, skeletons, ghosts, things like that. The original idea for this whole build was going to be nightmare themed, but I felt like I would get myself into a little bit of a pickle if I didn't do something correct for Nightmare Before Christmas, so I stayed away from it. But Nightmare Before Christmas did inspire a whole bunch of other things, because I still wanted to make this its own thing. And also, I want to make this area look like this was a part of a theme park. So, like the water here next to the Witch's Tower extends outwards. Maybe it ends up into a lake or something that connects the rest of the park or something. Who knows? But that was kind of the objective, especially in a diorama like this, or diorama challenge, as Coaster B puts it. You want to make it look like it's part of a bigger park instead of just enclosed on itself. So I made sure that things were open on some areas so that you can imagine it bleeding out into other parts of the park. So, for example, like this coaster is the centerpiece of this land, so the coaster is going to get most of its scenery around it, and a lot of, like, you'll see as we explore into more towers and things like that. But just going to work on the Witch's Tower, figure out what type of style I'm going for. Very high peak roofs, so that's is that called topper? The thing that goes on top of the roof? That's kind of like a Victorian type of thing. I'm gonna call it a topper. And then we have the dormers here that I'm using as like little window ledges, and then I'm gonna put windows in them. And then pillar work to kind of put out the, making edges defined. That's the word I'm looking for. Yikes. So this is how so far the Witch's Tower looks. I like where this is going, how it's designed. Gonna go do some vine work a little bit to make it that look old. I do like the idea that it sits on this little rock island, and this little wooden walkway goes around for guests to kind of watch the coaster go around. I did a lot of interaction with the coaster, so I want to make sure that guests get to see it from all different angles, because again, this is a theme park. So we're gonna go pull from there and just make it as realistic as possible. The only thing that I did skip in all of this build was a transfer track for the coaster, because there was no place for it. So we're just going to imagine that the transfer track is underneath the station or something like that. I don't. It could be anywhere, to be honest. So I just kind of skipped it. You do see some custom supporting already done that I did a little bit. Kind of just jumped around. I was messing around with some shapes, trying out some new like roof decorational things. So I did this weird ledge that goes down and then points up, like it's like some witch's hat maybe. And I kind of liked the idea, so I copied it over and then just placed it on all four corners. And then I have a chimney coming out the top of it. So at this point, I'm already feeling the Halloween feel. I'm like, oh, this looks like Halloween. I like this. Looks spooky. It's forbidding. It's haunted. And then pumpkins also add a little bit of a charm, because I'm going for a whimsical Halloween, not like super scary, bloody Halloween. So, because again, this is a theme park. This is like that's why it's called Halloweentown. So it's kind of whimsical already as it is. So support work. I did some rock work to kind of help out support the supports. It kind of looks pretty realistic. The supports did get an update though. That was really cool. I think this was made by, can't remember who made this mod, but they updated and added like little cylinders, no, not cylinders, spheres that connect the pieces together to make it look more realistic. I do like that. So whoever made the mod, I think it was, why am I thinking it's Airboss? I don't think it's Airboss, but it might have been. But mod updated, so use the mod now because it's actually really, really cool. So I suggest you go check it out. Here I wanted to do some whimsical stuff again. So we're going to do a giant skull head that the coaster flies through. It was originally going to be a giant pumpkin, but I was having issues working out how a pumpkin should look, especially with the shapes that we have, and it was kind of looking like it was very janky, not very like smoothed out. So I went for a very simple way. I went, okay, let's just do a skull, and let's make the skull resemble Mr. Bones from Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. So that's kind of what I went for. So first, I'm going to figure out where the skull needs to be, how high it is, depending on how the coaster flies through, and then go from there. This looks like an alien for a second, because I made the eye sockets way too big. So I was like, oh, okay, way too much. So I kind of readjusted that. So yeah, there's a lot of experimentation with this skull. I've only built so many skulls in my Parkitect career. Like, I've done it out of rocks, but out of shapes is a little bit more difficult thing. So this was kind of a challenge. A little bit, but I wanted to give it some more whimsical look to it, and I think it looks good. So the teeth are made of pillars, and then I supported it with some rock work and some other things. So I used a lot of the same rocks in this build. But I think I used majority of the rocks actually in the game. There's some other key things that I used for. Oh yeah, later you'll see some. There's a cool mod that I get to use that was just released on the workshop, but I'll explain that later. So here I'm just trying to figure out the skull's teeth, figuring out where they should go, and gave a gap, give it some character, and this actually worked out really well. I like that. And then I found out that, okay, so I have now the idea of where I'm going with this. I needed to figure out where all the supports needed to be killed, and then I wanted to do a giant boulder hat, or a top hat, like Mr. Bones. So I needed to figure out if the coaster, when it flips over the top, it doesn't hit the hat. So it was kind of a guess, but I think it actually worked out really well that it's bending the other way. And at this point, you could already tell this is very, very whimsical on how it goes. And they did some tree work to kind of help out with its atmosphere. I did a mix of old trees and new trees, and it actually worked out really well, because I like the spindly trees that we have from the Halloween set, and I think that really works really well. So, and then this new dirt that we have, it's soil, I think it's called. I like the darker form of it. It's like, that really makes it better than using like the bright red dirt that we have. That's like for like western, or like for deserts in other ways. So this walkway is not gonna stay. This is gonna go by, because I thought I should make like some viewing port for the coaster to come by and you see the skull. And I put down a photo spot. That goes away actually because that didn't work out really well. Also needed to figure out where I needed to put more town in, so I kind of had to give myself some ways and blueprints and things like that to kind of figure out where things should go. Like here, I'm gonna build. Yeah, we're gonna start building on one of the town's buildings and go from there. Oh, change out construction anarchy settings because I had some settings on. And so this buildings was just build it like a medieval building, but then add some whimsical Halloween stuff to it. I don't know how to explain, because Halloween is just in that weird state of it's being its own theme. Actually, it's a mix of a Victorian, mix of like steampunk. It's a mix of well, 50, like 1950s horror movies or B movies, something like that. So, but Halloweentown, like from Nightmare Before Christmas, is more a medieval town. A lot of brick, a lot of wood, a lot of shingle roofing, and then they add like really high peaked roofs. Yeah, Harry Potter kind of falls in the same aspect as well too. It's very medieval. It's interesting how a lot of themes kind of balance or pull from each other, which is quite fascinating. So that's kind of the direction I'm going. It's kind of just do medieval, and then I kind of make it some whimsical stuff with pumpkins everywhere, spider webs, skeletons maybe, stuff like that, candles, cauldrons, witches stuff, brooms. So here I'm doing an overhanging roof with construction anarchy. I haven't done this in a while, so I just felt like this building needed some little bit more character to it with some overhanging roofs in their windows. And as the building kind of just matures into what it will look like, because without borders and or pillars, it doesn't look good. It looks very, very flat. So there's a lot of border and pillar work in this entire build. So I want to make sure that everything looked defined and not so plain looking. Because when you have a building like this very plain, it doesn't really show much character to it. And you want to give these buildings character, like they're built from different monsters or different creatures from Halloween. So that was kind of the objective, to give them that feel. And then I did some 45-degree angle cubes to give it some stonework edges. I like doing that. I think it's really cool to have this like slope type of effect to these walls. What else did we do to this building? I think we did some woodwork to it actually. We made it a different wood type of thing. And what else are more to talk about? There's some other things that come up in this build. Like I don't think we see it soon, but we'll see it like in the next, maybe at the 15-minute mark we'll see a new mod come in play. But again, I was having some creative block lately with this build and with American Adventure. So American Adventure is kind of going on and off right now. I'm working on the farm area, I worked on the hotel, and then I kind of had this project in between, and then went from there. So sorry for the slow upload, because I'm just kind of building really slowly and just out of ideas. So I've been doing a lot of concept art hunting, things like that. This here is an interesting little experiment. I did a dormer roof stacking. It worked because they had these weird edges to the building or the roof, and so I was like, oh, this is cool. I think it was just an experiment with the pieces. Again, I'm experimenting all the time, and sometimes I'm afraid to experiment because sometimes it can look really bad and ugly, and I don't want to present that in a video. So most of my experimenting sometimes is off camera, but in this case I wanted to experiment and see what I could do to make this building a little more interesting in its architecture, maybe a little less perfect, more ramshackle in a way, because I view Halloween stuff as ramshackle and like, I don't know, not destroyed, but more put together by ruined things. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. So I did an interesting idea to do these lit windows. So they're all lit. So they're colored yellow and they look like they're lit inside. I think that was a cool idea to kind of add some ambiance to the building and have some of them on and off. So I think doing this actually helps out in its like look and its feel for like Halloween. So I kind of did that. I think it looked really cool. And then the tower at the end will turn into some type of tower of some sort. I think it'll be using, I think, some fantasy stuff and some anything else like that. There we go. Onto fantasy roof. I was gonna try to use the fantasy roof more often, but that piece is still really hard to use, and it's very. If we had a corner piece of that roof, I think I would use it more. But right now, I only use it for straight objects like this, and it's very. I wish I would be able to use it more, but right now I can't use it because it doesn't have a corner piece, and those vine pieces that come out from the side of it are kind of in the way sometimes. So, it is what it is. I would be using it more if it had a corner piece. So, like a corner roof or a rounded corner roof. That'd be cool. So I can make like tiled pavilions or something. That'd be cool. On to doing. Oh yeah, here comes the new mod. So, a very close friend of mine. You might know him on the Discord as Max Free, and he made the essentials. He made the foliage essentials mod, which has like a whole bunch of custom trees, and they're really cool. And so he decided to go on to a new set of mods he wanted to try out. So he calls this the what did he call it? Not foliage. He called it prop essentials in a way. I think it's called prop essentials. Then you go double check what it is, or scenery essentials. That's what it's called. Scenery essentials. I just remembered. So he wanted to branch out on the scenery of Parkitect. So he's adding like expansions to the already set themes in the game. So the first one set he wanted to do was do a Halloween theme or extension to the Halloween spooky theme. So I found it after he did some. This is like his pass one. So pass one happened, and he's gonna continue to add things to that mod actually. So this is just pass one. So he did some spiky rocks. So I like the spiky rocks. So I decided to do some rocks over the loop over here, or the loop, and then go from doing some other little rocks things. There's so many little cool things in this mod and things like that. So it's really cool. I like the idea. Check it out. It's a really cool mod. So it really helped with my Halloween theming because it has some spider webs in it. Has pumpkin arches. It has these pumpkin demon type of things and a pumpkin king, and you'll see some of those more little details in the final tour of this park at the end of this video. So here I'm now working on the rest of Halloweentown. So I've decided that Halloweentown is going to be the front of the park. So this is the entrance that would connect you to the rest of the park. So you would kind of venture through a portal somewhere and end up into this very whimsical Halloween aesthetic town. So I decided to put the staff break room in the front here because I think my employees need a place to go. I completely block off the depot. The depot does not have access at all because I wanted to cover up completely, because I'm just imagining that the depot would be actually somewhere else in the park if this was a part of an actual theme park. So that's been completely covered up. Not at this point, because at this point it's still open, but I connected with pipes and delivery buildings, things like that. But this, I needed a proper clock tower in my town, So I went for very generic looking clock tower, very dark tones of wood and gray, like brown or gray, sorry. And look, someone's using my staff room. Good job. So what else do I do to this? I just kind of did offset with the walls with construction anarchy. I think that's a cool way to do it. If I was going to do that vanilla, I'd probably use just more shapes at this point and then pillars to kind of simulate that it's off the grid, but this worked out pretty well. Here I use the vanilla, not vanilla, sorry, the fantasy roofs one more time. I don't get to use on the rest of the build because we need more variety for those roofs, to be honest. I can't use them. I use them for a very little bit of stuff. I mean, you can use them maybe for... I used them once for an Indian or Indonesian style building once, but that was a while ago. But I would like to use them more often. I try to do more fantasy stuff. I would say fantasy is harder for me than, let's say, sci-fi. So that's why I kind of went for a very whimsical Halloween aesthetic for this build. I want to do more fantasy, like, theme parks, but I need to first finish American Adventure, because I don't want to abandon that project, because that project's already, I would say, like, more than halfway done. Because I started to work on the farming area. See, I shouldn't be talking about American Adventure, I should be talking about my Halloweentown, but I'm kind of just getting sidetracked. It's okay. This is just normal Halloween building stuff, and some just detailing on the roof, like the detailing on the top of the roofing, where I use cylinders at different sizes and at different tones of like brown, actually adds really more detail to building, which I really like. And then the clock tower, I wanted to add some more definition to said clock, so I added a cylinder. Yeah, I can call it a cylinder, and then put the clock in. Here's some actual pipe work. Okay, so pipe work. Oh, excuse me, I am hiccuping. And just depot. Depot's going to be set up in the front here, and then I'm going to build some restaurants and go from there. That was some fun times. This whole build was kind of a struggle to get things moving and to get my creative juices going, but that's the challenge when you build so many cool things and you run out of ideas, and it gets really frustrating. So I still try to play other games or do something else with my time and go from there. Here in the center of town, I felt like we needed a statue of some sort. So like the headless horseman with his pumpkin head on, so I felt that was appropriate. So a horse statue and then some shape work, kind of give it look like a man, kind of. It looks like a man. I think it's okay. I don't think it looked good. I kind of just put this in for a filler, to be honest, because I felt like the middle of town kind of was empty, so I needed something in the middle. So I kind of just built a guy, kind of. Where's the pumpkin head? Oh, I was gonna do a skull at first, wasn't I? Oh no, that's cool. I put skulls in the dormer, give it some Halloween feel. Yeah. Patterns of like skull patterns in walls and things like that, like decorated walls. So I kind of made my own decorated walls at that point. The set of new trees that I used were kind of a mix of mesquite, oak, and I don't think I used black pine. I don't think I used black pine. I used maple trees too. So as the town kind of built itself together, having more detail and spider webs and things like that. You can see some spider webs on the red building. And then this really cool flower pattern. Not flowers, sorry, those are leaves. Yeah, leaf pattern that is part of the Essentials Scenery mod, or Scenery Essentials mod, and that's really cool. So I kind of put them underneath all the maple trees that I have. So I'm going to have like a whole bunch of maple trees kind of sprinkled around the land, and then they have fallen leaves on the floor. I think it adds that cool texture to the map, adds a little bit more of a realism, like these trees do drop leaves every once in a while because they're well, they're living things, they're trees. So I find that really cool. Adds just more detail. I haven't really, like, delved into mods as much as I should, but I think sometimes mods are overwhelming to me sometimes, so that's why I kind of stay away. But this mod helps in that gap of what the game already has, so it kind of goes well with already the spooky scenery we have in the game. So I was like, okay, this is really neat. I like it. So it's funny that we actually skipped building the station because I think I forgot to record that. Yeah, I think so. Oops. But yeah, the station is kind of a mix of like a mad scientist laboratory and with a lot of pipes and copper roofing and brick. So that's kind of the aesthetic of the station. I also wanted to find a way to cover up that chain lift that's in the beginning. So I kind of made it that's the main chain lift going out through the chimney, and then it kind of goes down in through itself. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention some of the rules set for this challenge, because there's rules set for it. I think it was have one trigger effect. So I made a trigger for the ride, so when the ride goes back to the station, it goes actually through a volcano which is attached to the lab, and the volcano erupts every time the coaster goes through it. So that's my trigger effect. You'll see more details in the final live tour, but yeah. As I just talked past building the Haunted Mansion, I put down a whole bunch of flat rides to make this more like a theme park. So let's just go on to this one right here. This is going to be a pumpkin carousel. I saw a concept art on ArtStation of a pumpkin carousel, so I felt like, oh, I can just take that and make it a little bit my own, but not really. So I was originally going to use that pumpkin art that you saw a few seconds earlier, and then I decided to make it out of actual shapes to give it a little bit more, I don't know, not as cheating with one piece. I could have done it with one piece and then been done with it, but I felt like I wanted to build a pumpkin myself, so I did it out of shapes and cylinders, and then made some eyes. I think it looks cool. I think it makes this park a little bit more realistic and grounded in its like theme park aesthetic, and then it's very whimsical with this angry looking pumpkin on the carousel. I wish I could get rid of the white color on the carousel, which you can't. I thought we could, but apparently not, so the white stays. It actually works out. It's not that bad. And then it needed a building next to it to kind of help out the carousel in its way, so I made a very, very small, whimsical looking pumpkin building. So orange, green roofing, kind of simulate the stem and the pumpkin itself. And then a little like tower to go with it, because apparently building towers is a cool idea. And I like building towers. Towers are fun to do because that's kind of a way to attract the eye to a center point and your centerpiece. So I kind of just went for a very simple tower. And think I decorated with a whole bunch of pumpkins on it, actually. Yeah, pumpkins everywhere. So this is the big pumpkin, and then little pumpkins everywhere scattered around. Also take note, you see all the little maple leaves on the floor with the maple trees. I think that looks really cool. It kind of makes it very festival fall colors. Yeah, so Halloween's like fall colors because it is during Halloween, things like that. The lamps I use are from the actual spooky set still, so those are the bendy looking with the bat wings. Oh, I should have done some bat theming or something. I didn't do that at all. I was going to, then I switched it up, but that's okay. Plans change all the time, especially when you're building something that really has a set plan. I knew I had a theme, I knew that I had some other thoughts in mind, and then I went from there, kind of just went on from there. Most of the coaster got supported at this point. The coaster at this first roundabout needed to be custom supported still, so that still needs to be done. Usually I build everything first and then custom supported, but in this case I had to custom support and build at the same time so that it could get some more realism out of it, and actually that worked out really, really well. So the whole coaster actually fits really well in this area. And then did some different tones of maple colored trees like the orange, and then go from there. And then I did some vine testing for The pumpkin carousel, I wanted to maybe give it something, but I felt like it would look like a mustache or something, so they didn't stay. They left. But I did add some giant vines like sticking out in areas around the pumpkin. I think that was a cool idea. Those are actually the tree trunk ones from the essential. Sorry, it's from the Scenery Essentials mod, and so I just made them green to make it look like vines. So, kind of was just messing around. The launch tower disappeared because I felt like it was too tall. It was taller than the coaster, and I felt like that would drag away from its drag attention away from the guests, because the coaster is your centerpiece. So that went, and originally that was going to be designed to be like a ghost pirate ship or something. I changed my mind because I still had some other scenery items from the Scenery Essentials pack to use, and there were spiders in it and spider webs. So I felt like this would be your spider ride. So I took the top scan, and there is a top scan like spider themed ride from Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 that I really liked. But unfortunately in Parkitect we can't model it. But it still looks like a spider because it has six little legs, but spiders have 8. Oh well. So I decided to do a spider themed area with a whole bunch of webs and spider props and this little building right above it. And so I had to make sure that all the custom sporting was good and the clearance was good, and this ride actually fits okay in this area. I don't think OSHA would allow it because there's some of the top scan kind of gets really close to some of the supports, but I made sure the supports don't nick it. But it's kind of like an iffy placement, but I think it's cool to have another ride right here. So this is the most flat rides I think I've ever put in a diorama. No, I'm going to take that back. Let me think here. The first diorama was that western one I did, Silver Eagle Valley. I did 3 in there as well. A haunted house. No, I did 4 in that one. Wow. No, this is not the most. I take that back. This is like the second the most. I haven't done flat rides in a diorama in a while. So yeah, there's flat rides in here to kind of give it that theme park feel. So that's kind of what I went for. And then this is just a very simple towered type of building. It's a very short tower, it's nothing really that crazy. And then I did some brick pyramid pieces to be tile roofing from the adventure pack. And then did some brown borders to simulate wood. And a brick bottom to be its foundation. And I think I called it Spider's Bin for right now, but then I changed it to Spider's Lair, which made more sense. And then, what else did I do to this? Oh yeah, I added some more rock work to give us some more atmosphere, and some spiders are kind of crawling upon it. There was going to be a flat ride on top of the depot, but that didn't happen. The depot actually got a, what do you call it, a courthouse type of thing. So like from Nightmare Before Christmas, like a town hall. Because this is Halloweentown, so this becomes this is like your spider shop. So there's little spiders, big spiders all over the place. I did this spider decoration on top of the wooden pillar to kind of give it that like ornament. So I kind of just like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Let's just do an ornament. I think the coaster gets really close to that piece, but I don't care. It's fine. No one's gonna notice except for me, or maybe you guys. I don't know. So I really enjoy the spider web decals that Max Freak made. It's like they're really cool, and they really add more of the atmosphere of this is like an abandoned place, but it's not abandoned because people live in it, and it's just a cool idea. I think they're really nice. Here's some more water work that I did onto this side, and it kind of just went from there, water and things like that, to kind of give it that more, it expands out more. And then on the entire side of the map, I put black walls up to kind of give it that diorama feel, like it's been cut from a map and then placed into your hands like a little diorama model, and went from there. I was going to do some like maybe decorational on the sides of it, but kind of got lazy and just skipped it. So yeah, here is a spider hanging off one of the like little rocks, like what do you call it? I call it a finger. I'm gonna call it a finger rock because it looks like a finger that kind of arches over. So an arched rock. So I kind of did that, and I think that looks really cool. To add some spider-esque thing to it. But yeah, this is so far. Oh yeah, dead bodies everywhere, bones because the spiders eat people and things like that. And you're going on to the spider's lair. So yeah, I find that really cool. So this is toward the end of the video actually. So after this is done, I will show you some things I did off screen because I forgot to record again. I should be good at this now, but apparently I forget to record. So yeah, sorry about that. So I will show you some more detailed stuff and some things like that. So I will see you guys in the tour. Meet you there. Okay, here we are in Halloweentown. So I'm going to give you a small little tour of this wonderful little project and for the Coaster Bee build challenge. Just show you some close-up details of things, and we'll just start off with the little town of Halloweentown. Do I want this? Yeah, I'll have the HUD up. It's okay. So here's the little town of Halloweentown. How funny. And all the little things that are in it. So I have a pumpkin for a shop. Mr. Bones with a pumpkin head on this side to kind of give it a little bit of different variation. That's a shop in there actually, so guests get like things like that and other drinks and things. I think there's a drink stand in there. Oh, I could put a drink stand in here. Actually, I should do that because the guests were complaining about drinks, so we're just gonna add it. It might not be in the blueprint actually. It's okay. We'll just move on. So here's the headless horseman statue with the fire, and then let's venture off this way toward the pumpkin carousel with a balloon stand that goes with it. I do like the colors, and each section kind of have its own little like environment in a way, I would call it. So moving on, there goes the coaster. Purple track, brown supports. I think that's pretty cool. Here's the spider lair. That's the top scan as our ride. I think this works out. I just wish that I could color the platform, but it is okay. I'll take what I can. Yeah, it's okay. And then here is the town hall for Halloweentown. It's exactly where underneath the depot sits. So I just kind of raised land and then just built this thing on top of it. And then I added this tower to kind of add some difference to it, and then add some decorations for it. So I think this looks really nice and it works really well. There's a graveyard that goes with it. Looks good, I think. And then we're going to venture toward this thing. This lava thing was added recently, so this is like my lava idea with lights. I was just trying to test something out. I think it adds some dynamics to the map or something. The trigger is the volcano up here, so here comes the train. We'll wait right here for it. Oh, there's the new Pumpkin King model. Goes through Hangman's Pass, which is all the hanging skeletons, and then goes through here and then triggers off a fire effect, and then the ride ends and goes around this wonderful little pot of acid or something. I like that it's gooey and it just drips everywhere. So here's the like mad scientist laboratory in the middle, gears and things, and so this tower hoists up to the train, and then it goes around the spider's lair, and then comes around, and then it goes around the witch's tower into the Mr. Bones skull, and then wraps around to Hangman's Pass, and then there. And then I added a Haunted Mansion ride to give it some more Haunted Mansion Halloween feel, and then yeah, this is the entire map of Halloweentown. This was about, I say, an 8 to 10 hour build, I think. Took a while. I had some creativity block to it, but I'm very happy with the end result. So go check it out on the workshop, and then keep an eye out for Coaster Bee's results video, and then I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!